Hey guys, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to be talking about a miniseries from DC that I recently read, Flashpoint, and my thoughts and what I enjoyed about it, and what I think they're going to use from it for the new Flash movie supposedly coming out next year. So, let's jump into the paradox, and let's do this. So the Flashpoint event was a big thing for DC that they did in 2011, and was kind of their relaunch slash reboot of all their storylines and resetting everything so they could start the new 52. So the main story takes place over a 5-issue miniseries called Flashpoint, written by Jeff Johns and art by Andy Kubert. But there is also a lot of other stories about these characters and their alternate timeline versions that were released at the same time as this event. So let's just hop right into quick summaries of what happens in each issue. So there is going to be some minor spoilers, but there won't be too much, so just be warned for that. First up, we have issue 1, which starts with Barry Allen waking up at his job at the police precinct, and they get a call that Captain Cold is attacking a place in Central City. So Barry Allen, with being the Flash, he's like, okay, I gotta go stop him. So he runs out of the building, but realizes that he doesn't have his Flash powers. And then when he falls down the stairs because he trips up because he doesn't have his powers, his mother is there because they were going to go to dinner. But in his original timeline, his mother is dead. So Barry is confused and is wondering why his mother is alive and standing in front of him right now. So at this time, Barry is talking with his mother, Nora Allen, and he's trying to tell her that he's the superhero of the Flash. He's part of the Justice League. But his mom doesn't know what he's talking about or who the Justice League is, so they don't exist in this timeline or any superheroes, really. Then we jump over to Batman, who we see is fighting Yo-Yo, who is like this version of Harley Quinn. It almost seems like it's that same kind of character type. And he uses guns and throws her off the building and doesn't care if she lives or dies. So this is definitely a different version of Batman than Bruce Wayne. Then after Batman has his confrontation with with Yo-Yo, Cyborg comes in, and it turns out that Cyborg is really the only hero of the world. He works for the US government, and he's the only one that they really trust. And he wants Batman's help to run an underground group of heroes that they're going to go and try to stop the Atlantean and Amazonian war. Because in this timeline, Wonder Woman and Aquaman had a big falling out, which is revealed later in the series, and they're going at war with each other. They want to kill each other. And in this war, most of Europe got flooded and destroyed, and just that whole continent is just underwater, and everybody is dead. So Cyborg fears that if they don't stop this war, it's going to take over and destroy the whole world. So he needs Batman to help inspire the other heroes to join their team. But Batman, being Batman, he only works alone, and he doesn't want to join the team. So they end up coming to a disagreement and leaving. Then we see Barry Allen drives to the Batcave because he knows that he can find Batman there and that he's going to be able to get some help. And when he gets there, Batman immediately attacks him because he doesn't know who this random guy that just walked into the Batcave is. So Barry tries to explain, I'm the Flash, I'm a superhero, I'm part of the Justice League again. But Batman has no clue who he's talking about until Barry realizes that this Batman isn't Bruce Wayne. It is Thomas Wayne, and Bruce died in the alley instead of his parents. Then we go to issue 2, which opens up with Deathstroke and his crew of some other criminals on their ship going through the ruins of Paris. It's all flooded because of the Atlanteans. Aquaman and Ocean Master jump onto the ship and start attacking them because they're trespassing on Atlantean land. And Aquaman ends up almost killing Deathstroke and a couple members of his crew. So then we go back to Batman and Barry, and Thomas Wayne is freaking out. How do you know who Bruce is? Why did you say that name, kind of thing? And then Barry tells him that he's from a different timeline and that he knew his son, and in this timeline, Bruce survived. So Barry explains that if he gets Batman's help, he can help him save his timeline to keep Bruce alive. Decides to help Barry and says he's going to help him as long as he can promise that Bruce will survive. So what they do is they try to recreate the accident that gave Barry his powers. So they hook him up to a bunch of chemicals he was working with at the time in a giant thunderstorm and waiting for a lightning strike to hit him. So eventually this lightning strike does hit him and all the chemicals he's working with, but the experiment doesn't work and it ends up burning all of Barry's body and he pretty much dies almost. Now we go to issue 3. So then we go back to Cyborg, who is talking to the president, telling him that, Batman isn't going to work with us. He doesn't want to help us. And the president says, well, we're out of time. He's our only option. We need him. So Cyborg he's going to go and try to recruit Batman one last time. Then we jump back over to Batman and Barry, who Batman got Barry out of the equipment and wrapped him up with his body covered in burns and is trying to heal him and get him to recover. But Barry, being so persistent, he gets up and, in immense pain, wants to go and recreate the accident one more time. They need to try again. So they go and they try again, and it works this time. Barry's able to get his speed back and connection to the Speed Force. So with this, Batman is extremely surprised because he's like, this guy is real. He wasn't lying. He can actually get these powers. And then he starts to immediately heal with his faster metabolism and healing that his speed gives him. So then Batman and Flash decide that they're going to set up a meeting with Cyborg, that they're going to help him out and create this team to go stop the Atlanteans and the Amazons. So they get there and they decide what they're going to do. They make their plan, and Flash tells them about the most powerful person from his old timeline, Superman, which, of course, Cyborg and Batman have never heard of Superman or any alien crashing into Metropolis or anything like that. So Barry gets Cyborg to go against what he's supposed to do as a government agent, and he hacks into their secret files and finds a secret project called Project Superman, which they go and it turns out it's kind of like an Area 51 thing. They have Superman locked in a vault underground, and because he's never seen the sun, he's immensely weak and fragile. He hasn't gotten his powers yet. So they break him out, and the whole time Cyborg and Batman are like, Barry, is this really the guy you're talking about? He doesn't look so immensely powerful that, like you said. So they break him out and they get outside, and Superman, he gets his powers. He starts to fly a bit and uses his laser eyes to kill all the guards that were attacking them when they escaped. And then he just flies off. And now we go to issue 4, which the story really starts to ramp up and getting to the climax of the story. So we first open up in this issue with seeing some other heroes like the Shazam family and Hal Jordan, who are seeing the news reports of the Atlanteans and the Amazonians, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, their fight, and they realize that they have to do something. Even though heroes aren't appreciated in this world, they have to do something to help. So then we see Hal Jordan, he isn't a Green Lantern in this timeline because Abin Sur, who is the owner of the ring that eventually got passed down to Hal Jordan, didn't die on Earth when he crashed. So Hal Jordan doesn't have a ring, he's just your average fighter pilot, and they get a call from the president that they need somebody to drop a new type of missile or nuke on what's left of Europe to try and kill the Atlanteans and the Amazonians. So at this point, Barry, he gets what I can only describe as a mental seizure, where he realizes that his memories are starting to be erased and replaced by ones that belong in this new timeline. So he fears that once all his memories are erased, he's not going to remember that he's from an old timeline. So their mission is going to be over, and they're going to have to really speed up if they want to get this done and save the world and the timeline. So they go and gather all the heroes that they were talking to in the previous issue, as well as the Shazam family, when they hear that a huge battle between the Amazonians and Atlanteans is already going down in New Themyscira, which is the part of Europe that the Amazonians took over. So they get their team together and they immediately fly over there to try and help, and they get there right in the middle of the battle. Both sides are just killing each other like a typical battle like you would expect. So they get there and they're fighting, they're trying to help, but they realize that they're being overpowered. And some of the heroes and villains are working with Wonder Woman. And Zatanna double crosses them and uses her magic to split the kids from Shazam. And Wonder Woman kills Billy Batson, like just straight up stabs him. So that's Shazam out of the count, probably their strongest hero that they had besides Superman. They realize that they're pretty much defeated. They tried, but they're not going to be able to do anything. And that's when Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, reveals himself to Barry and tells him that he did this. He created this alternate timeline. It's his fault. So now we go to the final climactic issue, issue 5, which this is probably my favorite cover out of all 5 of them, with Reverse Flash just beating up Barry and Batman there. So, as Flash does when his greatest villain shows up right in front of him, he tries to fight Eobard Thawne, but Flash still doesn't have all of his powers because he's only had his powers back for like a couple hours at this point. So Reverse Flash is way too fast for him, but they're still fighting, and Reverse Flash is beating the crap out of Barry. So as they're fighting, Eobard is explaining that Barry created this timeline. He went back and tried to save his mother. So if you don't know, it turns out that Reverse Flash is the one that went back in time and killed Barry's mother. So Barry decided to go back and try and save his mother, but in doing this, he created this branch timeline. So the Reverse Flash has beaten Barry. He's on the ground. He's bloody. He's beaten. And he's basically saying, I've defeated you for the last time. I finally taken you out. When Thomas Wayne Batman comes up behind him and stabs Reverse Flash through the chest with Wonder Woman's sword. So that's that problem out of the way for them, but the Atlanteans and the Amazonians are still fighting, so they've got to deal with that problem. But this is when the Resistance shows up, which includes Etrigan the Demon, the Grifter, this is how they introduced him over from Wildcats with Image. They brought him into the DC continuity, and some of those other lower level heroes. And at this same time is when Superman comes back. After going to the sun to heal and get his powers, he's come back and just starts beating the absolute crap out of Wonder Woman and Aquaman. And at this time, Thomas Wayne Batman, he's dying on the battlefield. So Barry Allen goes to him and Thomas Wayne hands him a note, which he says, save the universe, give this to my son. So then Barry realizes that everybody's going to die, but if he can run fast enough and rewrite the timeline that he messed up, he can save everyone and his own universe. So he goes and starts running through the timeline again, and he meets himself in the time stream and tells him not to do it. You're going to mess everything up. You're going to create this alternate universe. Lots of people are going to die. Don't do it. So he ends up stopping himself. And at this same point is when this really awesome splash page comes in, which I'll show in the video, is an awesome homage to a similar one of Superman from Crisis on Infinite Earths. And what I really liked is it shows the start of Scott Snyder's big saga with his Batman run, and then the Dark Knight's Metal events with showing who Barry doesn't realize at this time, but is later revealed to be Perpetua, who created the DC universe and is like the villain of those events. And then it goes to exactly where the first issue started off, with Barry waking up from a nap at his job, and he realizes that he's back in his own universe, he has his powers again, so he goes to visit Bruce Wayne in the Batcave. And he says, I know you don't know anything, you don't remember any of what happened because it's all been rewritten, but I have a note from your father. So he gives it to Bruce. Bruce reads it, and for one of the first times that Batman actually cries. And then that's where the series ends and kind of jumps into all the new 52 titles that came out at this time. So I really enjoyed this series overall. I think it's one of the only one or two things I've read that Jeff Johns has written, and I really enjoyed his style, and the artwork by Andy Kubert was awesome and super detailed. I really enjoyed it throughout the whole thing, and it really helped bring the time travel and like darker, grittier universe style to the story. So what I think they're going to use from this storyline for the Flash movie. So it's already been kind of confirmed that the new Flash movie with Ezra Miller coming out next year is going to be influenced by this storyline. And they're going to kind of use it to rewrite all of the DC universe. And from what we hear, they're going to kind of split it off into two universes, with the Zack Snyder stuff and Justice League being in one on one Earth, and then the new Batman with Robert Pattinson's going to be on another one, and just a bunch of different continuities. So who knows if they're going to use this movie to maybe combine them all or retcon a couple of them. But it's going to be different multiversal stuff within this Flashpoint story. So what I think they're going to use, I think they're going to use the Barry going back to try and save his mother part to kind of start the multiverse problems. And I believe, it's heavily rumored that Michael Keaton is going to be coming back to play Thomas Wayne, Batman. Or, well, he's going to be coming back to play Batman. If it's either Bruce Wayne or Thomas Wayne, we don't know. I could see it being Thomas Wayne, honestly. I think that would be really cool to see Michael Keaton come back to play a different form of Batman again, and definitely a different kind of character. It would be really cool if we could see Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa come back as Wonder Woman and Aquaman for the Atlantean-Amazonian War part of the storyline. I think that would be really cool to see on screen, if they could do it properly, of course. And if they want to go with that, because they might just be trying to use this movie to rewrite the universe and set it straight as one timeline, which I think would also be really good for this movie, because they could get their DC timeline fixed, because, it hasn't been that great their past few movies, and they could maybe start putting out some really good content and quality movies if they really focus on story writing and good characters. So I think this Flashpoint is a good idea for them to go with. So thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed, please remember to like and leave a comment down below, and consider subscribing for videos that me and the other guys from Power Pack are going to be putting out on every Wednesday and Saturday, and we're going to be having our live shows every other Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So keep an eye out for those, and see you there.